call to order the March 12th meeting of the Cary Town Council. And at this time, I'll recognize Councilmember Bonzel for our ceremonial opening.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Town Council meeting. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to recognize International Women's Day, which was celebrated this past weekend. It is a day to reflect on the achievements of women throughout history and to recognize the countless contributions women continue to make in shaping our communities. Progress has always been driven by people who are willing to step forward, raise their voices, and work to make things better for the next generation. Women across our community do exactly that every day. As leaders in business, educators in our school, volunteers in our nonprofits, caregivers in our families, and public servants in our government. Here in Cary, I feel especially fortunate to serve alongside 6 incredible women colleagues on this council who bring dedication, perspective, and leadership to the work we do every day. At the same time, we deeply appreciate the leadership of our mayor, whose commitment to collaboration and service helps us guide our effort as a council. As the first Indian American woman to be elected to serve on this council, this moment is also personally meaningful to me. It is a reminder of how we can come together and how important it is to continue opening doors so that every girl growing up in our community can see herself as a leader and know that her voice matters. International Women's Day reminds us not only to celebrate progress, but also to keep working towards a future where opportunity is truly open to everyone. I'm grateful to serve this community alongside so many dedicated colleagues and residents who work every day to make Cary stronger. With that, I would like to call this meeting of the Cary Town Council, and if you could join me for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're now at the adoption of the agenda. Staff has requested to remove the revisions to Policy 143 from tonight's agenda and bring it back at a future meeting date. This will allow staff additional time to continue working on the clarifications to the policy. Is there a motion to adopt the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now move to recognitions, reports, and presentations. And our first proclamation is in honor of 311. And I'll invite staff member Sammy Campbell to meet me at the podium for this presentation. So maybe some people don't know what 311 is. 311, if you want to know anything about what's happening at Town Hall, you can dial or email or text 311. Burning question, 311. Burning fire, 911. That's the easiest way to remember it. They can answer just about anything you can come up with. All right, so that is an incredible service that we have here in the town of Cary. And to recognize that, I have a proclamation. Recognizing March 11th, 2026 as 311 Day in Cary. Whereas 311 serves as a vital connection between the town and community, providing residents and businesses, visitors, a simple and accessible way to request services, report concerns, and obtain information. And whereas the dedicated staff who operate the town's 311 services demonstrate professionalism, responsiveness, and a strong commitment to delivering exceptional customer service to the Cary community. And whereas these employees work diligently every day to ensure that residents' questions are answered, service requests are routed efficiently, and community concerns are addressed promptly. And whereas 311 service plays a critical role in improving transparency, accessibility, and communication between the town and the people it serves. And whereas 311 Day celebrates annually on March 11th, provides an opportunity to recognize the contributions of 311 professionals and highlight the importance of accessible municipal services. And whereas the town proudly acknowledges the contributions of its 311 team, whose dedication helps maintain the high quality of life that residents expect and value. Now, therefore, I, Harold Weinbrecht Jr., Mayor of Cary, North Carolina, on behalf of the entire Cary Town Council, do hereby recognize March 12th, 2026 as 311 Day in Cary and encourage all residents to recognize the importance of 311 services and staff play in supporting our community. Proclaim this 12th day of March 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. On behalf of our 311 team, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for recognizing 311 Day. We truly appreciate your continued support for the people who help connect our residents to their local government every day. Many of us on the team started from day one, and it is a privilege to continue serving the Cary community and to help keep our residents informed, engaged, and supported. Thank you.
We now move to the town manager's update, and I'll recognize interim town manager Russ Overton.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate Council's discussion on the capital budget and other items at the work session tonight that we literally just wrapped up. For those of you that are here tonight or maybe watching online, and if you didn't catch it, just a reminder, those meetings are live streamed and recorded, so if interested, please go back and take a look. I also wanted to share a little good news. As some of you may know, the Nest at downtown Cary Park is once again nominated for USA Today's 10 Best Reader's Choice Awards for Best Public Playground. And you may remember we won the award last year, ranked the #1 playground in America. It's pretty amazing, honestly, and I know we'd all love to see Cary bring home that award once again. But for that to happen, we need folks engaged, and we need people voting. Voting online every day through noon on April the 6th. You can go to USA Today to do that, or go to the downtown Cary Park and click the link at the right of the top of the page. So please help spread the word, and hopefully we'll be celebrating again soon. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Overton. Next item on the agenda is Public Speaks Out. I want to thank everyone here in attendance for being here. We've included instructions for speaking at this forum online and on the printed agenda. There were 3 opportunities to participate in Public Speaks Out: through written comments, by calling in, or by attending here in person tonight. If you are here in person and would like to speak, please take a seat in the rows to my right that are highlighted. Public Speaks Out speakers have 3 minutes each for their comments and may speak on any town-related topic as long as it's not a public hearing. And since we have no public hearings, you can talk about anything you want. 3-minute time limit will be enforced, not to be rude, but to be fair to all of our speakers. We have a timer on the podium. It will start with a green light. When it turns yellow, that means you have 30 seconds remaining. And when it starts flashing red, your time is expired, and that's the point I'll interrupt you. Again, not to be rude, but to be fair to all of our speakers. I would ask that speakers be respectful in their comments and direct comments to the entire council and not an individual. I thank everyone in the audience for understanding and respecting that this is a business meeting. This is not a town hall. This is a business meeting. Do not applaud, make remarks from your seats, use props, or do anything else that may distract from this business meeting. So now is the time for public speaks out, and I'll call on the clerk to read any written comments and call on any registered speakers.
We received 15 written comments. These have been emailed to council prior to the meeting, provided to council at their seat, and attached to the online agenda for accessibility. We have 20 speakers, and our first speaker is calling in virtually. And Felicia Moore, you are our first speaker. If you could confirm you can hear us and can speak.
Ms. Moore, can
Yes,
you
I can hear you.
please proceed?
I'm sorry. I had hoped to be there in person tonight in front of y'all, but instead I'm here at the Ether to ask the council to not just consider the ways this body could act over the ICE expansion in town, but to actually act. I would like to ask council to consider the following actions, all of which are within the realm of Dillon's rule. Bring forth a resolution or make a statement of position. We are not asking you to say, fuck ICE, but we are asking you to say, we care about our immigrant community, we value their safety, and we do not want you to further expand here because that is contrary to that value. You could pretty it up however you'd like. If there have been any failures in procedure of permitting around this lease, I am asking that council consider and act on any consequences that can be given as a result of any failures in those processes. I'm also going to urge those on council who have expressed their concern to take that concern to the next step. There is procedural power here, a motion and a second. While we know the mayor has no desire to sign a statement or to openly position, we would like to see this voted on. I would like to see everyone at the table vote yes or no. I would like to see the discussion and debate around that vote publicly. If the answer is no, we will have our answer. The council may care, but they will not act. And then those of us on the ground can decide where to further point our energy in the most useful places. I understand the tough spot that many of you are in at the table. I truly do believe and feel certain the issue matters to you all. But Dillon rule or not, we do elect you to represent our interests. In this moment, this is a decision that this body needs to act on, even if it is just to show your constituents which way that action will go. Thank you.
Our next registered speaker and first in-person speaker is Laura Wingat. Followed by Laura is Lorene Meehan.
Laura, can you move to your left, please? Thank you.
This mic? Okay. All right. Good evening. I'm Laura Wyant. I'm the Executive Director of Western Wake Tennis Association. We're a nonprofit organization whose mission is to promote the spirit and growth of tennis in Western Wake County, which includes the town of Cary. And I'm here tonight just to highlight 3 awards that your Cary Tennis Park staff or Cary Tennis Park got that I think is important for the town to understand what a great facility and staff you have there. The first award was given in 2025, November 2025 by USTA North Carolina, and that went to Bill Reynolds. He was selected as the Junior Team Tennis League Coordinator of the Year. Since 2022, Bill Reynolds has worked tirelessly to enhance the quality of programming and experience for all junior players. He oversees programs spanning ages 8 to 18, increasing team participation and ensuring matches are competitive and fun. He has added thoughtful rule adjustments and enhanced coach communication and development. He encouraged sportsmanship and carefully places players in the right divisions. He's made JTT approachable and exciting for families, so congratulations to Bill. The second award was also from USTA North Carolina, and that was the Junior Tennis Council Award, and that was given to the entire Cary Tennis Park staff. The staff at Cary Tennis Park absolutely knocks it out of the park in terms of facilitating junior programs across junior team tennis, circuits, junior tournaments of all level. They have elite juniors and players that are just picking up a racket for the first time, but their team demonstrates a deep commitment to delivering clean, organized, and consistent product for young players and their families. The Cary Tennis Park staff goes above and beyond by actively contributing to the broader direction of junior competition across the state. They step up, engage, advocate, and help shape solutions across tennis statewide. So congratulations to them. The third award you got is a national award, and that was given by Racket Sport Industry Magazine, and they named Cary Tennis Park Municipal Tennis Facility of the Year. And y'all are a perfect pick for this. CTP is known nationally for the facility and the events and the staff. With 25 outdoor courts, 7 covered courts, 4 youth tennis and pickleball courts, it's one of the largest facilities in the Southeast, but you don't have enough courts. They provide local programs for all ages, levels of kids, adults, and people with disabilities. They have local and national events. They serve beginners to the top tennis players in the world. They host college tournaments and much more. From a community standpoint, Cary Tennis Park facility and staff offer a very welcoming opportunity to play the healthiest sport on the planet. We're so lucky to have a facility and staff that works to make tennis available for all. They have helped to build what we believe is one of the best tennis communities, not only in North Carolina, but across the country. From a personal standpoint, I have to say, frankly, they make my job fun. I love working with your staff, and I know from the top down, and then from the bottom up, their commitment to tennis is
interrupt the
amazing.
accolades.
Okay,
but,
I know. All right, well,
time is
congratulations to
expired.
all of them, and I gave you information on that.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Our next speaker is Lorraine Meehan, followed by Andrew Gloop.
Good evening. My name is Lorraine Meehan. In January and February, Cary Theater featured the movie The Voice of Hinrajab. It has been highly criticized because it portrays the death of a 6-year-old girl as a victim of the Israel Defense Force. It features her heartbreaking voice asking, begging for help, but falsely implies that the tragedy is Israel's fault. I asked Cary, mayor and council, to cancel that movie because such propaganda is deliberately provocative and incendiary. And that affects members of this community. It incites Jew hatred at a time when anti-Semitism is at an all-time high in North Carolina and in our country, as we saw just today with 2 more incidences. Leaders of the Hinrajab Foundation have known ties to Hezbollah and have repeatedly voiced their support for the murders, the rapes, and the kidnappings by Hamas on October 7th. The first response I received said, Mayor and Council are not involved in operational decisions and do not make decisions on what is shown at the theater. Basically, not my job. Another response was far more thoughtful, demonstrating effort and concern, yet stated, art is highly subjective and controversial art will elicit a wide range of opinions. Theater management responded with, quote, the intent is to provide a diverse set of programming, unquote. I guess that means it's okay when programming dehumanizes and maligns Jews. But deliberate lies and falsehoods do not require balance. They should not even be considered at all. If this were a piece of art maligning Hispanics or Blacks or another minority, would the responses have been the same? Unfortunately, once the lie is out there, you can't pull it in. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. A lie repeated often enough becomes accepted truth. I asked Cary Theater to feature well-documented, truthful films which tell the events of October 7th through the eyes of Israeli victims and victims from other countries, telling what they endured and what Hamas bragged about and posted on videos on the net. I suggested 2 titles, but there are many more. Despite commitments to do so, as of this morning, there are still no plans to show such films on the theater schedule. I expect more from this town, a town that claims a progressive approach to challenge right on its webpage. I guess progressivism applies only to certain community members, not everyone. I asked the theater, which is supported by tax dollars, to actively review those movies whose names I provided and others in that genre, and schedule showings as it would any other movie with the intent to serve our diverse community. Unless, of course, the truth really doesn't count. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Andrew Gluck, followed by Maria Rouse.
Hi, my name's Andrew Gluck. Just wanted to expand on what was just said. A while ago, many years ago, there was a photo of a young child in Gaza being shot. Made the rounds of the world, being shot by Israel IDF forces. Drew the ire of everybody. Unfortunately, it was all staged and false, just like this movie was. There's no proof to this ever happening, but that you put it on stage as a documentary, as truthful. People try to find out how this made onto the Cary Theater, and was told it was done by a committee. Freedom of Information Act was requested. It turned out that was not true. It was done by one person. What were they hiding when they said it was a committee? Did they realize they messed up? No, they wouldn't admit anything. But when you put something out as a documentary that is not a documentary, but is false, just like that photograph, Hamas is known to put out false information. One time they said 100,000 people were killed in Gaza. Even they had to lower it. It turned out it was much, much lower. It was 42,000, and the majority of those were Hamas terrorists. It's amazing how false information gets accepted by certain groups without doing research. A movie being put on that has no proven factual basis to it, but given out by a terrorist organization, by both Hamas and Hezbollah. And this is how the Cary town conducts to do movies at a Cary Theater without checking the veracity of anything being done as a documentary. If it's false, it's false. You have to put it up as fiction. But you did not do that. And then we got lied to about how it was selected. That needs to be investigated by this group here. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maria Rouse, followed by Carter Yao.
Hello, Town Council. Thanks so much for allowing me to speak today. My name is Maria Rouse. I am from the Apex Cary area originally, having moved here with my family when I was 6 years old in 2005. And I've really appreciated growing up here. So it's really important I think, for me to speak on this today. And I want to mention a organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation in the area. So as I'm sure you know, back in November during ICE's Operation Charlotte's Web, 23-year-old Fatima Isila Velasquez Antonio was kidnapped and detained by Immigration's Customs Enforcement, taken from her workplace here in Cary to a detention center in Lumpkin, Georgia. She had a valid work permit and no criminal record. She came to this country as an unaccompanied minor nearly a decade ago. And I bring up Fatima's name today because her story shatters the narrative that we are fed by people in power. It tackles the Trump administration's main point that we need to expand ICE because our communities are dangerous. The truth is, many of the immigrants detained by ICE in the Triangle, like Fatima, have no criminal record. But we must also be clear that everyone deserves due process, regardless of their record, according to the Fifth Amendment. Town Council, I think you have a real responsibility to speak out against the crimes ICE is committing right now. When the Border Patrol came to the Triangle in November, our community did not look away. We organized, we fought back. We proved that we are stronger when we are united. And we need you to listen to our demands, and we cannot afford for elected leaders to fall under political pressure and stay silent as ICE plans to open another office space right here in Cary, where we and thousands of our immigrant neighbors have made our homes and our lives. You only need to take a brief look at places across the country that have sat back and accepted ICE's presence without any pushback and see that we cannot let the same happen here. I don't believe that the answer is rolling over to this illegal activity. Town Council, I urge you to join the community in fighting back in the ways that you can and speaking out against ICE. As a community, we fought back against ICE in November and successfully sent them packing. And obviously, based on the steadfast involvement of many folks here today who were at Town Hall last Thursday, we've been showing up and organizing for months to protect our community. We can and we must publicly condemn ICE, say no to ICE and Cary, and make it clear that they are not welcome here. the lives of our community members are what's at stake. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cary Yao, followed by Whitney Kidd.
Mayor and council members, good evening. I would like to thank all of you for allowing me to speak here. My name is Cary Yao. I am a high school student that has lived in Cary for over a decade. This town is recognized as one of the best places to raise kids in the entire country, a fact I can attest to firsthand. And for that, I am grateful for you all for providing us with such a great environment for growth. As the founder of the nonprofit Asian Blooming Artists, or ABA, I'm here tonight to propose hosting an art showcase in the Cary Town Hall. We are currently hosting the inaugural Asian American Youth Art Competition. We're collecting artwork from Asian American youth across Cary, aged 15 through 19. Asian Americans make up over 20% of Cary's population. And May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is an important time to appreciate how our cultures contribute to Cary's identity as a welcoming and inclusive community for everyone. The theme of this competition is peace. In a time when conflict and division are more and more present in the world, it is a theme that resonates with all of us, and perhaps most of all with the younger generation who will inherit it. This competition gives young Asian Americans a space to share how they feel about the world and express their thoughts and emotions through art. An art committee will select 30 to 50 works as finalists, and through public judging, different tiers of winners will be selected. Public participation and voting will showcase the artistic talent of Asian Americans and help engage with the community. We are proposing to hold this showcase in May during AAPI month, and we hope that Cary Town Hall can open its doors to exhibit these works. We wish for this event to be held annually, inspiring more young people to express themselves through art, improving art literacy, and using art as a medium to build understanding between us. As for how we will make this happen, I have volunteers under my nonprofit that will help organize the event. It will curate, as well as I have judges from the local art community who will select the finalists. We would be honored to bring this celebration of art and culture to Cary Town Hall and contribute to the great town that Cary is. Thank you for your time.
Our next registered speaker is Whitney Kidd, followed by Jolanda Malone.
Good evening. My name is Whitney Kidd, and I'm a citizen of Cary, childhood military dependent, state worker, and a member of Wake County Indivisible. We are concerned about the leasing of 11,000 Regency Parkway by Foundry Commercial to the federal government to expand ICE presence in the Triangle. Firstly, we reject the mayor's previous statements that we should ignore this information and that making a public statement about it is asking for an invitation from ICE. This is the kind of passive societal disengagement that the current federal administration counts on to continue their lawless dismantling of our freedoms. ICE has a potential budget of over $85 billion. They are going everywhere, and they're not asking for invitations, and they're certainly not announcing their presence. We need the record to show and our elected officials to know that ICE's manufactured chaos makes our community less safe, and they are not welcome here. While we understand that city officials may not have the ability to control the leasing of private property, releasing yourself of any responsibility by claiming that you have no power whatsoever or that you know nothing about it is not an acceptable response from elected officials. ICE is killing people, including US citizens. They're separating families and deporting children to detention centers with no access to education or clean water, and then lying to the public about it. Asking us to stay silent and hope for the best is no longer a luxury afforded to citizens of this country when these are the stakes. Numerous cities like Asheville, Chicago, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, Seattle have implemented ICE-free zone policies, which are land use and administrative policies that limit federal that limit federal agencies from using city or county-owned property as staging areas, processing sites for arrests, or operational bases for civil immigration enforcement. These policies can disrupt infrastructure for large-scale raids, reassert local control over public property, and instill trust between immigrant communities and you, our local government. Although these policies may not prevent ICE from racially profiling and disappearing innocent people off of our streets or leasing administrative property in our city, they do signal support for your immigrant constituents and oversight of ICE in our community from local government. Further, these policies can specify that arrests on city property must be supported by judicial warrants as opposed to the administrative warrants that ICE creates themselves. The city of Minneapolis alone reported $81 million in lost revenue in January 2026, and thousands of students transitioned to remote learning because they were afraid to go to school. When ICE came to Wake County in November, Wake County schools reported a 67% increase in absences over normal levels. Our president can wage war against Iran to distract us from what he's doing here in the US, but our eyes are open. We ask that you take this threat of ICE and our demands seriously. Respectfully, you work for us, and you should care about keeping your constituents safe. Listen to our concerns, even if it is not convenient for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Jolanda Malone is next, followed by Laura Pay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jolanda Malone. Sometimes you may not want to focus on the future when you don't like where the future is heading. You start to feel a sense of anxiety, fear, doubt, and worry because you don't know if you or your family or community members will be okay with ICE in your community. It doesn't make me feel safe. It doesn't make me feel protected, and it surely doesn't feel right to my heart. I say this because I am a citizen. However, look at me. Look at the color of my skin, maybe even look what my first name is. Will they look at me and assume that I am an immigrant, that I am here illegally, that I am a criminal, that I should be detained even though I have the rights, even though I have paperwork to show that I was born here? I'm saying this to bring perspective because it's just not the immigrants that are being affected. A lot of people are being labeled because they look a certain way. What is a human being to you? Someone of certain racial background, certain income, speaks in a way that makes you feel comfortable. See, we are all humans regardless of our ethnicity, background, or our life experiences. We have rights and we deserve to be looked at and treated as a human being. So I come here today because I ask for you guys to consider people that look like me trying to go to work, take care of their family, take care of their pets, contribute to society, to help us not have to worry about whether we'll be stopped or whether we'll be treated a certain way just because I'm just being myself. I'm someone's daughter, I'm someone's granddaughter, I'm someone's child. I am a human. Please help us from not having ICE offices or detention centers in our town. Thank you.
Next speaker is Laura Pay, followed by Lynn Tovar.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Laura Pay. I'm a Triangle resident from Durham. I'm speaking today because the ICE offices in Cary are the only ones in the Triangle. The people grabbed off the streets in Durham this November were taken to the field office in Cary before they were shipped out of state. This affects all of us. I understand that the federal government and its agencies have supremacy, and we can't just tell them to leave, of course. But that doesn't mean that we have to play nice and sit back quietly. As City Council, you can consult with lawyers for any ordinances that could be passed which would help protect the community from ICE activity. You can coordinate with local law enforcement in preparation for the return of street-level ICE and Border Patrol activity in the area so that they can be a resource for the community when ICE actions appear unsafe or unlawful. You can adapt signage for homes and businesses and other Know Your Rights education from other cities with Town of Cary branding to show that you support people in exercising those rights. You can create a special committee with immigrant community leaders and advocacy organizations to tackle this issue as a team. At a minimum, you can pass a resolution that reflects Cary's commitment to its immigrant residents and citizens, and that ICE expansion is not wanted here by the community or the City Council. Right now, Siembra is calling for Greensboro City Council to make a blanket statement that they will never allow a detention facility in their city because taking a public stand matters. These are not normal times. It is not fair to you as a city council that you are having to deal with this. But I want to encourage you to be bold, to stand up for us, the residents of the Triangle, those of us who are afraid for our neighbors and those who are afraid for themselves and their families. I know that you may be concerned about speaking out and whether that will create more trouble, but trouble is already here. I would suggest to you that at no time in history has silence and compliance been the winning strategy in the face of wrongdoing. We will continue to call and email our state and federal representatives, and we will continue to demonstrate. But if we are to turn the tides on what is happening in our country, it must start with us locally and with you standing up for our community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lynn Tovar, followed by Kathy Martin.
Mr. Mayor Weinbrecht and council members, my name is Lynn Tovar. I am a Cary resident from District A and a member of a faith community that sits in the heart of Cary, St. Paul's Episcopal Church. I am joined by others from St. Paul's, and we stand here before you to express our concern about the news of an additional ICE facility planned or proposed in Cary. And I ask you, as representatives of the city, to explore all options to oppose this ICE expansion in our area. Our diocesan bishops have condemned in the strongest way possible the pattern of intentional violence and abuse of power by our federal government and in the actions of ICE, and that we cannot ignore this moment, because these atrocities come on the heels of months of additional abuses, including the abduction of children and the abuse of the elderly, the disregard for basic protections of American law, such as the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, and the reckless destabilization of the rules-based international order that has kept millions of vulnerable people safe for generations. And this comes from a statement from January from the Episcopal Diocese Bishops of North Carolina. As Christians, as humans, we are urged to stand for the vulnerable and to give voice to those who can no longer speak for themselves. This makes me believe strongly and clearly that it is a wrong step for the town of Cary to allow ICE expansion into our area. Where there is a will, there is a way. Other communities have blocked efforts to expand detention centers and other activities of Customs and Border Patrol and ICE. We can too. Thank you for standing up for the town of Cary.
Our next speaker is Kathy Martin, followed by Alexis Williams.
I am considerably shorter than anyone else that's been up today. My name is Kathy Martin. I am shorter. I can't see the people on the other side. We've already heard a number of comments about the ICE expansion. I wrote an entire page that would take barely less than 3 minutes. So I think I'm just going to step down to the most important thing I wanted to say tonight. First of all, I was here last week, and I want to address the idea the mayor said that by doing nothing, he seeks to keep the attention of ICE away from Cary and thus protect his neighbors. And while I appreciate that, and I've heard it before, it's not the first you're not the first person to say this. The fact is, it doesn't work. And here's the most important thing to remember, is that people who are into cruelty and chaos will use your moral compass against you. They know that you will feel responsible if you do something that is linked to something that harms other people. And they will use your conscience against you to keep you silent. So think about that, please, think about that. You cannot save people from harm by being silent. The current administration is using ICE in a way that it's never been used before. ICE has been here since 2004, 2001. And the way ICE was used by previous administrations, perfectly legitimate. Let's deport people who are violent, who are convicted of violent crimes. But that's not what's happening now. That is not what's happening now. And we need to fight back against this illegal use of force in our town. And please, it will not be your fault if violence comes here. And even if violence doesn't come here, 50 lawyers show up in suits. They're here to support violence in our neighboring communities. And we cannot morally support that. We need to work against any ICE expansion in Cary. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Alexis Williams, followed by Christian Yeager.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Williams, and I'm speaking tonight not only as a Cary resident, but also as an immigration attorney. Every day in my work, I help people navigate one of the most complex legal systems in our country, people who are starting businesses, raising families, and building their lives and contributing to our society, not only in North Carolina, but in the United States. I want to begin by acknowledging that immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility, and I understand that our town may not have a set legal path to prevent a federal agency from leasing a private office space. But recognizing a legal reality does not mean our community or its leaders have no voice or are completely powerless. While I, as a lawyer, understand very well the bind that a local government faces when it is up against a federal agency, particularly one that notoriously seeks to intimidate its way into complacency, I take issue with the idea that nothing can be done, and the rhetoric around this issue concerns me, as it seems the plan is to simply submit when other cities in similar situations have found ways to combat ICE expansion. What concerns myself, as well as many other residents, is the lack of transparency about what this office will actually do, how many people will work there, and what impact it could have on the surrounding area. Furthermore, the location matters. Kokobuth Amphitheater is one of Cary's most beloved gathering spaces. Every year, thousands of families walk those paths during the Chinese Lantern Festival, surrounded by glowing lanterns celebrating art, culture, and tradition from around the world. When I think about Cary, I think about that scene. I think about children running through the lantern displays, families sharing food and music, and people from different cultures celebrating together. That is the Cary I'm proud to live in. It is also the Cary you see when you walk through our immigrant-owned local businesses, whether it's enjoying a meal at restaurants like Sassel or Sap, grabbing pastries at Brecco, or visiting the many international restaurants and markets that make our town one of the most culturally vibrant places in the Triangle. Those businesses exist because immigrants chose Cary as the place to build their dreams. As someone who works in immigration law, I see every day the determination, resilience, and hope that our immigrants bring to our state and our country. In turn, our community has grown stronger economically, culturally, and socially because of that. So when residents hear that an immigration enforcement office may be picked next to a place where we annually celebrate cultural diversity, it raises an important question. Does that reflect the spirit of the community we have worked so hard to build? Even if the town cannot control a federal lease, our leaders can still advocate for the people they represent. So I respectfully ask two questions tonight. Will the town commit to formally requesting transparency and community impact information from federal officials before this office becomes operational? Second, will the town and its leaders commit to protecting all residents of Cary from a potentially harmful environment by making it clear that they stand with its immigrant residents? I hope our leadership will continue to advocate for the identity of Cary and encourage conversations about positive immigration reform that strengthens families, businesses, and communities, rather than decisions that risk creating fear or division, because immigrants make our community great, and Cary should be a place for everyone. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Christian Yeager, followed by Jackie Gottlieb.
Good evening. My name is Christian Yeager, and I reside in Cary. My comments are related to the ICE office at 11,000 Regency Parkway. The White House claims its ICE operations are about crime, violence, the economy, and drugs. Thank you. These ICE operations are not about safety. Of those people rounded up by ICE, far fewer than 14% have a record of violence. The National Institute of Justice found undocumented immigrants are arrested at less than half the rate of US-born citizens. The ICE operations are not about the economy. The American Immigration Council states that in 2023, undocumented immigrants paid $89 billion in federal, state, and local taxes. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that they will add $1.2 trillion in federal revenue over the 2024 to the 2034 period. These ICE operations are not about drugs. According to the American Immigration Council, the majority of fentanyl smuggled across the border comes not from migrants seeking entry, but by U.S. citizens. Between October of 2018 and June of 2024, roughly 4 in 5 people apprehended for smuggling fentanyl at the border were U.S. citizens. The architect behind the ICE operations is one Stephen Miller, Chief Deputy of Staff at the White House. Before entering the White House, Stephen Miller served as an editor of the far-right publication of Breitbart. A leak of internal emails revealed his alignment to white supremacy, and he made frequent reference to the white power novel Camp of Saints, which describes non-whites as invasive savages. He will later work with Senator Jeff Sessions, helping craft policy to roll back civil rights, weaken voter protections, and target marginalized communities. His work in government has consisted entirely of targeting and disenfranchising people not like himself. Even now, the GOP is fighting to push through the SAVE Act, which will disenfranchise millions of people across the country, including married women, on the basis of their legal name no longer matching their birth name. Nobody is safe. Stephen Miller wants to rid the United States of anyone who is not white, straight, and Christian. With his partnership with Russ Vought, the author of Project 2025, with Donald Trump and the timidity of our nation's leaders, he comes closer and closer to that goal every day. What we are facing is nothing less than a white nationalist movement hell-bent on securing power and racial purity, and ICE is the sword of that movement. I realize it may not be the position of this body that it does not have the authority to say no to the federal government, and that 11,000 Regency Parkway may be considered personal property. But I tell you from experience, abusers see silence as obedience, and they love that. And we must fight them at every inch of the way. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Jackie G., followed by Jennifer Valentine.
Good evening. My name is Jackie Gottlieb. I lived in Cary for many years. Mayor, you should be very proud of your role in Cary's growth. We are all feeling traumatized and yet still work to keep democracy. But if you feel that you've resigned yourself to being a figurehead because you feel we don't have the authority over the federal government, something you can do is enable your council and town manager to make decisions and take viable actions. If you would, please envision a scenario where businesses close, residents stay home, not attending Cocoa Booth events, and Cary Park is desolate. Lots of lost revenue. GSA leased 11,000 Regency Parkway for administrative offices. Why? Why there? Well, if I was scouting locations with plenty of space, I would look for a place that offers potential growth, has multiple uses, and is inconspicuous. I would start out small and slowly spread out. Start with lawyers. They can create a plan for expansion. Potential growth from 11,000 buildings to include the 9,000, 8,000 buildings. A large parking lot to store and assign ICE fleet vehicles. Agents driving through Cary daily, hourly. Conference rooms large enough to host strategy meetings that include Bovino, Homan. A good location to interview new ICE agents and host a hiring fair. And the best part is, Cocoa Booth is an awesome space to host events, parties, and ICE training. Don't think it's plausible? Then why select a location with no fencing, no security, adjacent to a public venue? They know, we know they are there, and we don't want them there. Don't underestimate their corruption. Why? Because we have already witnessed the unlikely, the unfathomable, the unlawful by them. What does the future look like? The entire area enclosed as a compound where Cocoa Booth is no more. Businesses, they are gone. The trailhead is closed. And this is what your lasting legacy would be: the destruction of Cary instead of all the good of all these years that you've done to this date. We have a choice. I have no power, no control. Why bother trying? They rule me. I accept handing over my authority. Or, before it's taken away, decide to do everything in my power despite the barriers, risks, and fear. It is important to remember that it's nearly impossible to get them out once they occupy. Several ICE facilities have been stopped by local business leaders who recognize the facility would ruin their profits. You have everything to lose.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you.
Okay,
Your time
thank you.
has expired. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jennifer Valentine, followed by Maria Crosby.
Hi, I'm Jenna Say What. I'm a political streamer. Every day I report on ICE, their overreach, and the abhorrent conditions that people are kept in. I use abhorrent in a very loose term, by the way. We have reports of tainted food, guards waging bets on who's going to commit suicide next, and people that are being sexually assaulted. Yes, those are reports. We have DHS aides like Corey Lewandowski saying, "I'm not worried. I'll do whatever the I want. Trump will just pardon me." And whenever you have someone above you saying something like that, that's a green light to do whatever you want. Add just 42 days of training. I'll give you a wild guess as to why they came up with that number. Yeah, but I digress. We are in an unprecedented time, and our leaders need to stand up and say we will not have a concentration camp in our city because Cary is a safe place for everyone. I mean, we're just talking about best public park, playground, bye, see ya. Asian, the population, what was it, 20%, he said? Lantern Festival, see ya, bye, that's gonna be gone. If ICE moves into town, we'll watch our schools and streets be pepperballed like they did in my home city of Chicago. We'll see our citizens being murdered in the streets like they did Keith Porter, Ruben Ray Martinez, Alex Preddy, and so many others. We'll watch people beg and plead for ICE agents to let them get through to aid their victims, but they'll stop us, leaving them to drown in their own blood like Renee Good. It is not illegal to observe, record, and make noise, but for Renee and Alex, those were death sentences. Our elected officials need to listen to us now more than ever. My question to you is, if you're willing to roll over and show your belly to this administration, what else are you willing to roll over for? Are you going to give Trump our voter data as well? My question is, if statistically we have 11 million undocumented migrants in the United States and they're being deported, then why the hell do we need 250 facilities nationwide? This speaks to the broader threat that Americans will eventually be housed here. The only way to quell that fear is to say no to another ICE facility. Allowing one sends the wrong message. Do the right thing. Keep our beautiful city of Cary beautiful. Take a stand. Make us proud. Thank you, guys.
Our next speaker is Maria Crosby, followed by Lucas Tyler.
Good evening. It's Marina Crosby. Thank you for the opportunity of addressing you again. On November 20th, I requested that the council publish the total impact of ICE's operation in Cary, including the types of businesses and day that businesses were closed, absences from work, economic calculation of loss, K-12 absences in schools, number of arrests, totals of those people that had criminal charges, civil immigration charges, and legal residents and citizens that they shouldn't have taken. I did not hear back. On March 6th, I wrote to the email address town.council@carync.gov, and I heard back from 3 of you. If the mayor is tallying our messages and using the number of them as a way to gauge interest from the citizens, it is very important to confirm that you're getting our messages. If our messages are going to your spam folder, I'm afraid you're probably undercounting. I ask that the mayor report the emails with actual numbers, since dozens is too vague to gauge anything. Several municipalities have expressed concerns similar to what our mayor expressed in the State of Cary Q&A session, namely the concern that if the council made a public statement, it would be drawing immigration enforcement's attention and putting the people they're supposed to protect at risk. I am an immigrant, and I have not found one immigration advocacy organization that supports that notion. Siembra en Sí has sent out and encouraged Fourth Amendment resolutions. El Pueblo features on their website a statement from the Legislature Progressive Caucus. El Centro Hispano has nothing to that effect. Could you please tell us who you're getting this notion from? Acquiescing in advance is the opposite of advocating, so please do not stay silent in the name of immigrants who need you. Finally, I don't think anyone can feel safe with an ICE expansion, considering what happened in Minnesota. So I ask you to please do the study on economic and educational impact and publish the losses that Cary suffered with only 1 day of activity in November. That data will give you the information to assess the impact that sustained activity would have in our town. Expressing that concern in a resolution is well within your remit and well within the law. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lucas Tyler, followed by Kane Ferguson.
Hello. I'm here to talk about ICE, and I know you've heard a lot about that so far, but everyone here, or at least most people here, know that ICE agents rarely get background checked. From what I've done, I've done a little bit of research, I found that Bridge Investment is a huge stakeholder in Regency Park. Have you not considered at all that this council can use your platform to urge them to reconsider leasing the property to ICE? Which ICE, they're sneaking in the back door of this town. They're trying to hide it from everyone here. Last time I came here, which was last Thursday at a protest, someone walked up to me and told me that ICE has already been here. Everybody knows that. They're trying to get a second office here. No one wants that. These people have no training at all. They think they have immunity. 25% of Cary's population is foreign born, and y'all are one of the safest towns there is. If ICE comes in here, they're gonna ruin that. That's all I can say.
Our next speaker is Kane Ferguson.
Hello, my name is Colleen Ferguson, and I live in Cary. At this point, it's clear that ICE is attempting to make Cary its North Carolina capital. It's a great location, given our more than 26% immigrant-born population. In addition to the facility on Center West Court, ICE is now leasing office space near Cocoa Booth Amphitheater for a team of lawyers. Detention center plus legal office means a sophisticated deportation machine in Cary. That is a danger to everyone in the Triangle. In the mayor's address last week, he shared Cary's status as the number six safest city in the U.S. Does the council really think that will continue if ICE is allowed to bolster their activities here? I understand that the Dillon Law means that our local government cannot take direct action, but to refuse to make so much as a statement supporting our immigrant population is unacceptable. The idea that making a statement would draw ICE attention makes no sense because ICE is already here, and they're not going anywhere. At this point, we are not asking you to pass laws you can't pass or enact ordinances you can't enact. We are asking you to care, to take action that goes beyond saying, well, this breaks my heart, but I can't do anything about it. Take a stand with the immigrants you claim to care about. The only force that can protect our immigrant population in Cary and around the Triangle is the collection of concerned organizers and activists who are working around the clock to monitor ICE activity, connect with neighbors who may be at risk, and provide access to legal support. We will need more than that to really defeat ICE. We must escalate our efforts in applying pressure to the building owners at 11,000 Regency Parkway. We must use our dollars to boycott Cary businesses who support ICE. We can even refuse to attend events at Kookaboot Amphitheater while ICE operates nearby. If ICE comes in full force, we need mass strike action to shut down business as usual like we saw in Minneapolis. If the town council can't pass laws against ICE, they can still support our organizing efforts. A line is being drawn, and it is time to decide which side you're on. Do you support the people of Cary or the brutality that ICE will inevitably bring? Inaction speaks much louder than any statement ever could. I think it's also worth stating that injustice here is directly connected to injustice everywhere in the world. Free Palestine, and thank you.
Where are we on the speakers? We have a 1-hour time limit.
We have 2 more registered speakers.
Okay, and where are we on the time?
We started at 6:40 and 7:31, so we have 9 more minutes. Our next speaker is Murrah B., followed by Marilyn L.
Hello, my name is Mira Butalia. Thank you guys for being here and thanks for letting me speak today. As you've heard from many of my fellow constituents, there is community-wide opposition to the increase in ICE presence in Cary or surrounding areas. I think we all saw the effects of increased presence in November when students who I and many others work with stayed home from school, family shelters in place, and anyone who could be racially profiled moved in fear and on edge. Increased ICE presence makes us all less safe and threaten people's basic rights to education, food, and health care. ICE creates an acute crisis wherever they go. We have heard from you all that you do not have power over whether they lease office space at Regency Parkway, but I think, as you can see, that has just decreased our confidence in you as leaders who can create effective and creative solutions in times of crisis. This is not an issue that can slip under the rug or fall by the wayside. It's a direct threat to so many people in the communities that you aim to serve. Town councils across the country have passed moratoriums on leases to private spaces to ICE, offices, or detention centers. One was just passed in Seattle and another was passed in Spokane, and in other towns across the country where leaders are using every single tool they have to prevent their communities from living in fear. You also have more than the power to pass moratoriums. You have resources and connections as leaders in the community to contact building owners and clarify the leasing information for a community that is worried and scared. This is the time to act proactively, not wait for information to come out and then take action. The everyday people around me, working 9 to 5s, working in food service, working as teachers or as housekeepers or healthcare workers, they are constantly coming up with creative ways to protect their neighbors. They are doing whatever it takes to make sure people can get to school or get groceries or get medication. All of this as everyday people living everyday lives. I urge you all to get creative and think about how you can respond in this time of crisis as people with power and resources. Thank you.
Our last registered speaker is Marilyn L. This is our last registered speaker, and then we'll open the floor up.
Okay. You'll be next.
Which mic is it? This one right here.
To your left. Thank you.
I understand you've heard a lot of us already throughout the night, but I'm here speaking about the same thing. My name is Marilyn Mendiola Lacunza de la Cruz, and I am not your constituent. I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, where our community also recently faced the threat of an ICE detention center. I'm here tonight because a possible detention center isn't just a Cary problem or a Greensboro problem, it's a North Carolina problem. And let's be honest about what that system produces. Detention centers where people beg for medical care and are ignored, facilities where 911 calls are made for suicide attempts and medical emergencies and self-inflicted injuries, places where human beings are being treated as disposable. Greensboro's response when our community came and spoke up was adding zoning restrictions and creating more hurdles to make it harder for the facilities like this to move forward. That's a good first step, but just like we told our own city leaders, zoning restrictions alone is not enough. The United States is experiencing one of the deadliest periods in immigration detention in more than 2 decades. In 2025 alone, at least 32 people died in ICE detention centers that we know of, and that's just what we know. In the first 3 months, we have 11 deaths that have been reported, and those don't include deaths like Ruben Ray Martinez, Keith Porter, Renee Good, and Alex Preddy. Those numbers don't even begin to reflect the many people who are being tortured and have near-death experiences every single day inside of these facilities. Over and over again, the same pattern appears. People beg for help and medical attention, and the help never comes. It won't come. Emmanuel Damas, a 56-year-old Haitian asylum seeker, recently died after a tooth infection that reportedly began as an untreated tooth pain while he was detained. Just think about that. A man died from an infection that started from a tooth pain. And let me add, he was here legally, so none of that was deserved. His family still doesn't even have real answers about what happened to him, and he's just one of thousands. This is the system that you're being asked to expand. Across this country, more than 73,000 people are currently being held in immigration detention centers, and that's more than 200 facilities. They lied and said that we were all rapists, murderers, and living off of the government, but only 73% of the people detained have no criminal records and are not even eligible for any type of government assistance. Our people were detained for minor violations such as driving without a license or missing a court date out of fear for their life. For immigrant families, this reality changes how you live your entire life. For you, driving to work, your only concern might be getting there on time. For us, this means driving to work and wondering if a broken taillight will separate me from my child. And just to close, this is a North Carolina problem. This is not just a Cary problem. I drove all the way here from Greensboro because we're facing the same thing. And a threat from immigration is a threat to us all, because if you come for one of us, you come for all of us. And I'm gonna tell you right now that whenever you guys don't speak up, we will show up. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm sorry that you got skipped. That was unintentional, please.
I have a copy of paperwork for each of you. The mayor's is on top. Because some of it is incomplete, but yours is complete, Mayor. Thank you so much for taking the extra time for me when you weren't expecting it.
Could you give us your name, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Mary Stevens.
Thank you.
And I'm a resident here of Cary. So, well, I'm on a totally different subject, and I've gotten quite an education so far. The woman who just spoke talked about being separated from your child, and this is my concern at the moment, only I'm bringing things closer to home. Instead of talking about ICE, I'm talking about the local police department. Okay, the documents I've submitted have all the details that I will not fit into 3 minutes. So on April 15th, 2023, we're talking about 2.5 years ago, and I was here on August 2023 and did not get to speak because I was headed off at the pass by the police chief Salt, who was so kind and wonderful, and I thought he was going to take care of it and deal with it. Okay. But on April 15th, 2023, the Cary police came to my home responding to a swatting call saying that there had been a kidnapping. About 15 police vehicles arrived in front of my home and 20, 30, 35 police surrounding my home. Violating my Fourth Amendment right, police entered my home illegally with no warrant and battered me, wrenching my arm behind my back and dropping me to the floor. I'm a protected class, elderly, disabled, dependent on a walker or cane, and as I was at the time. I'm 75 years old. I was 72 when this happened. At the time, I was pending hip replacement surgery. The police told me I had two choices: stay in my house and be arrested, or step outside and be detained. I was detained from approximately 11 p.m. until approximately 5 a.m. without access to my pain medication. My son and my grandson had been in my home playing with Legos. They called a SWAT team that arrived as I'm watching from across the street in a police car. The SWAT team came in. I could see them through my bedroom window because the blinds were open. It was at night and the light was on, and they ransacked my home. It had rained the day before. There was mud everywhere. I had to throw out three rugs, and when I finally was able to come back into my home at 5 o'clock the next morning, I could not even get to my bed. Everything was thrown on top of my bed. My whole home was disheveled. So, okay. But when the SWAT team came in, they took my 2-year-old grandson out of my son's arms while my grandson was screaming for daddy, okay? Why? Because of a swatting call. The mother of the child called the police, feigning hysteria, saying, "Help, rescue my baby." The dispatcher failed to ask 2 questions. Number 1, do you know who took the child?
Miss Stevens,
And,
I'm so sorry I have to interrupt you.
oh, you do?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
There's a 3-minute time limit.
Oh my God, okay, well, they
But
took
we
my...
have your document. I very much appreciate that.
Okay, can I just make a closing sentence?
Yes.
I haven't seen my grandson in 3 years. They took him away. My son is in such a state of depression. We don't know where my grandson is. A year ago, we got a phone call saying he was dead, okay? The police took my grandson.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was 3 minutes.
Yes,
I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
I'm suffering from post-traumatic stress, and thank you for listening.
Yes, ma'am. So that concludes Public Speaks Out. I want to thank everyone in the audience for attending and especially for abiding by the rules of Public Speaks Out. We very much appreciate that. If you did not get an opportunity to speak and would like to leave information with us, the clerk can definitely take that information. Of course, you could send it to us as well. And we have a council meeting coming up in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And you're welcome to come. I'm sorry. I can't have a conversation with you.
He's on the agenda, but it's not a public hearing, it's just discussion.
So we will have Public Speaks Out in another 2 weeks. If this is the applicant, maybe if the council is okay when we get to that item.
It's
Not the applicant. Oh,
It's just
okay.
impacted.
Yeah, okay. So thank you again, and if you want to speak to the council, it'll be 2 weeks from now, so thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. That's item 4. For the benefit of people watching our meeting on TV, we can take a moment to review the consent agenda items. One vote approves all of these items. On the consent agenda, we have recognize and appropriate reimbursement funding for the wireless carriers co-located on the Harrison Avenue elevated water tank, consideration of right-of-way closing West Chatham Street, consideration of right-of-way closing Jones Franklin Road, full-time FTE clerk office assistant town clerk, and adjustment to the adopted meeting schedule. Would council members like any of these items pulled for discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have no public hearings this evening, so we'll move to discussion items. That's item 6.1, proposed speed limit reduction. Transportation Director Cassie Schumacher-Georgopoulos will present this item, and council may take action. Ms. Schumacher-Georgopoulos.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here tonight to present a proposal to reduce speed limits on 3 Cary-owned streets. Before I discuss the specific reductions, I'll explain why this is a key part of Cary's Vision Zero initiative, how these recommendations are developed through a collaborative review process with transportation, police, and other departments. Then we'll review the 3 proposed reductions, and I'll finish with a schedule for implementation. The Council's adoption of Vision Zero last April committed our community to prioritizing traffic safety for vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians and bicyclists, over prioritizing vehicular level of service. Vision Zero's #1 priority promotes lower driving speeds because even a 5-mile-per-hour reduction can notably improve crash survivability for pedestrians and bicyclists. We also recognize that not every speed limit should be reduced due to roadway design, classification, and the impact on police service, such as constant enforcement. Speed limit reviews are usually in response to residents' requests or initiated by staff. Police and transportation staff receive several requests each year, most often for reductions on North Carolina Department of Transportation streets or requests for speed limits below 25 miles per hour. Requests are usually submitted through 311 cases or through a traffic calming request. And residents typically express concerns about speeding, pedestrian and bicycle safety, and maintaining their neighborhood character. Speed limit reviews are conducted by a multi-departmental team that includes neighborhood services, police, public works, and transportation. The review process itself looks at several months' worth of existing traffic speeds, volume data, crash history, roadway characteristics like the type of street, the number of lanes, and whether there are any existing traffic calming devices, and then also whether the reduction is consistent with the neighborhood character. These collaborative reviews help staff assess if a lower speed limit can be implemented without impacting levels of service. In many cases, the existing speed is appropriate, and lowering it would require ongoing police intervention or costly changes to the road design. The reductions proposed tonight all came through the traffic calming program, with residents specifically requesting lower speed limits in their communities. The 3 proposed reductions include a portion of Green Hope School Road west of Green Level Church Road, Cozy Oaks Avenue. For both of these streets, we propose reducing the speed limit from 35 miles per hour to the standard residential speed of 25 miles per hour. And Lockmere Drive, with a reduction from 35 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour. Each of these reductions went through the collaborative review process, and in all 3 cases, the traffic data shows that the existing vehicle speeds are within a range that aligns with the proposed reduced speed limits and will have limited impacts on police levels of service. Existing traffic calming devices such as landscape medians are present to encourage the lower speeds, and community walkability and access needs support a lower posted speed limit to encourage residents to choose different modes of travel. If council adopts the speed limit reductions tonight, the next steps will be to update the traffic schedule on Cary's website. Staff will continue to socialize the change with the communities before modifying the speed limit signs this spring. Initial monitoring and education will take place throughout the summer. And following implementation of the reduced speeds, staff will monitor the subject corridors, collect additional speed data, and continue to evaluate the impact of the lower speed limit. Tonight, staff recommends that council adopt the attached amendments to Traffic Schedule 4 for speed limits to reduce the posted speed limits on Lockmere Drive, Cozy Oak Avenue, and the portion of Green Hope School Road west of Green Level Church Road. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Before I turn it over, I want to thank staff for moving forward with Vision Zero. I really hope to see an impact in my lifetime. I think it's a lofty goal, but moving forward is the right thing to do. And I think reducing speeds, you're right on there. So I would love at least to see in the future that all these roads we've reduced speeds on have no fatalities, and That would be a first step. So thank you.
I just have a couple of questions. Sure. Do you have a plan, or what type of implementation methods will be used to really ensure that people are following? Because I've seen some really great methods, like on the Walnut Street Road Diet. I mean, those types of feedback loops have really slowed traffic down, but not everywhere do we see that sort of compliance with the change in speed limits.
So staff evaluated the 3 corridors and determined them to be appropriate for speed limit reductions due to drivers already primarily driving within the appropriate range of speed. So that there's not excessive rates of speed there today beyond what their recommendation is.
So they're already driving at these lower speed limits because of the road maintenance, the medians, that sort of thing?
Yes, yes. So there's no additional cost, capital cost.
That's where I was going to get
to make these roadway changes. It'll be replacing some signs and then some staff costs with police enforcement for some initial education, but not a long-term need for a police presence to continue to patrol those locations.
So I'm glad about that, because as the Vision Zero champion that brought it to council, I would have never expected that there were already opportunities for us to lower the speed limit where people are already driving slower. So that's really exciting. Thank you.
Can I ask for further clarification on that, using Lockmere Drive as an example? Lockmere Drive, when you turn onto that, it's quite easy to be speeding. It's just a nice, straight, sort of tree-lined road. Not that I'm trying to zip around, but I think I remember I was going to a friend lives there. If I remember correctly, my experience on that road is typically you got to hit the brakes because somebody's turning, or you got to hit the brakes because somebody's crossing the street. The road is very speedable, but there's a lot going on, so you have to slow down. Is that one of the sort of criteria you're looking for places where reducing the speed limit so people aren't jamming on their brakes is going to further the Vision Zero goal? Because what happens when that person who shouldn't have been going as fast as they were doesn't see somebody crossing the street?
And that's where like the street character plays into quite a bit of that, where there's a lot of, when citizens in the Lockmere community reached out, there's a lot of pedestrian pedestrian activity in that area. So there was concerns about having a lower speed to make it safer for bicyclists and pedestrians in that corridor. Also, even reducing it from 35 to 30 was in a range of compliance, where there would be some initial police presence on especially that straightaway strip on the eastern side of Lockmere. As it gets more curvilinear, you see a lot more compliance in that within range on where the street is more curvilinear. So that was the one item that staff did note, that there would probably be additional education needs on that portion of Lockmere because of the straightaway, and that's where you get into the design of the road.
Yeah.
Encouraging faster behavior.
Okay, thank you. I was just sort of.
And Cassie, I want to point out the Cozy Oak Avenue. I know Russ and I spoke about this last year, and we kind of looped you in. This road is very interesting because it really runs through a neighborhood within the neighborhood. And a resident actually raised this to me, that they tried to get this change, but then like with Vision Zero, now we are able to make these kind of changes based on the special assessments of these roads within the neighborhood. And I appreciate it, because this is going to help us kind of set the tone. Like Mayor Pro Tem Bush, I'm also particularly, and we don't have to do it right now, but I would like to also understand how are we going to enforce it. Enforcement, I know police presence probably initially could help, but then are we going to send communication out to residents, or how will the process work?
We will send communication out to those who have engaged so far through the process. We'll also put signs out letting people know that the change is coming. So we'll do posts to let people know. I think in Cozy Oaks, we had over 40 residents reach out requesting the lower speed limit. So we have a good base of citizens that we can reach out to, and we'll post notices before the speed limits are actually changed.
Wonderful, thank you. I would also love to comment on Councilmember Johnson, the Lockmere Drive, because I drove there a lot, especially during the traffic hours, and US 1 is in a congestion, and people not living in Cary cutting through, driving on Lockmere, and they are in a hurry to go home. So sometimes I'll go to work. So the education might within our Cary community, but the people who live outside of Cary, how can they know that there's a...
We'll post small or signs in the neighborhood or along the street, letting them know that a traffic or a speed limit reduction is coming. So they should be able to see that as they're speeding. Hopefully, as they're speeding through, they can see those. It's in order to capture.
Hope Chief South could help with that.
Here comes the enforcer.
If other residents living in other towns can be aware of that.
This is not an unusual process. We did it on Kildare Farm Road when the state lowered the speed limit. We don't go immediately into enforcement. What we'll do is exactly what Cassie has said. We'll put the signage up. We'll educate the community. It's an educational process. One of the last phases we do is we will go out there and do some enforcement. We don't start writing tickets. We start stopping people and saying, hey, the speed limit's changed, slow down, and that type of thing. And then at some point, we'll make it very clear that, the warnings are done. You know, it'll be a very, very open process.
I have a weird question. Are collector roads by definition 35 miles an hour?
They are.
And these two of the three are collectors?
Cozy Oaks and Green Hope School Road are collector streets, and then Lockmere Drive is a thoroughfare road. Which
does that mean that we should consider ordinance changes to reduce the speed of collector roads? Just if we're going to be doing this one at a time, is that something we should be looking at?
Well, I was going to add, it's probably more you're thinking of when you build a new one, that would be the speed limit that it would be set at based on what it would be designed for as well.
Right.
Into a little bit of what the design of the road is looked at from a traffic engineering standpoint.
So yes, one it would be for the future, and another might be as you determine them, as you look at them, we may need to make some changes. So, and is that something that staff would bring forward to us from a design perspective, that from now on, new collectors should be considered to be designed at 25 rather than 35?
You could. I guess you'd lean into engineering standards and principles, because really you want a collector to be able to collect and distribute traffic probably at a higher speed and a little bit larger width, which would be a little less than a thoroughfare. Sorry, I'm getting geeked out on, engineering
I'm just wondering,
principles.
what have you learned through this that might inform future changes so that we don't have to come back and forth in the future? And what other roads, I'm sure you'll be bringing more as you look at Vision Zero. Are we looking at that forward-thinking option?
I do think traffic standards have evolved over time. Cozy Oaks is unique because there's a lot of driveways on Cozy Oaks. It is connecting to thoroughfares, which is why it was rated as a collector, just as Russ had mentioned, where it's really pulling people to those thoroughfares. I think, so today, when you see zoning cases bring forward potential collector avenues or collector roads, we're looking for those to not have a lot of driveways on them. So it's kind of
today we wouldn't have
Correct.
designed it like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of getting the design right on the front end so that we're not having to go back and reduce.
So this is being addressed as part of the planning process and being incorporated in the...
And you're seeing and hearing terms, Cassie could speak to it, but complete streets, bike lanes, sometimes separated bike lanes, traffic calming. Y'all have even had conditions of traffic calming as zonings come in. So I do think moving forward, The hardship is where you have old standards and old designs, and maybe they don't meet what's new, but as this goes, we can also always look at lowering the speed limit that's there. It really has to do with how the road is designed and how comfortable folks are driving that design.
Yeah, because Cozy Oaks is not an old road. It's, I mean, it's just 10 years old, maybe? I mean, so you're saying that things have changed in the last 10 years? Okay.
Yep.
All right. I was thinking it was like Lockmere's more than 30 years old. I can get that one. But some of the others are relatively new, so I was wondering if it was a newer design, like in the last 5 years, we figured some things out. Okay, thanks. This is educational. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know residents reached out for these 3 roads and requested this. Do we have other roads that we're evaluating that residents have reached out about?
We receive a lot of requests, and a lot of them are for the North Carolina Department of Transportation roads, and so we do direct them to North Carolina Department of Transportation because they are the ones who are responsible for the speed limits. Even we make requests to them for lower speed limits. Otherwise, and then residents also ask for speed limits that are lower than 25. In our town ordinances, residential streets have a speed limit of 25. These 3 have been reviewed over the period of a year or a couple of years. We don't get a lot of them that ultimately justify bringing them forward to do a speed limit reduction. But when we do receive those requests, police go out and monitor. We set up cameras and take traffic counts as well as look at vehicle speed. Thanks.
Other questions? Are we ready for a motion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Make a motion to adopt the amendments to the traffic Schedule 14 speed limits to reduce the posted speed limits on Lockmere Drive, Cozy Oak Avenue, and portion of Green Hope School Road, west of Green Level Church Road.
I'd second that.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you.
All right, we're now to discussion item 5.2. It's 22 REZ 20, Alston Commons PDP. Planning Manager Aaron Puckett will give a report. Then we'll hear our planning board's recommendation, and council may take action. Ms. Puckett.
Thank you, and good evening, council. This is a request to rezone approximately 22.74 acres at NC 55 Highway and Petty Farm Road. You held a public hearing for this request in April of last year. Typically, for final decision on a rezoning, we keep our presentation brief, but as this is a complex request and as we have new council members since that case was initially presented, I want to take some time this evening to provide a more cohesive overview. The site is located on the east side of NC 55 with frontage on both sides of Petty Farm Road. The recently constructed Novel Cary apartment development is located to the north, and Alston Town Center is across NC 55 to the west. And a Town of Cary water tower is located directly south of the site. The site is currently zoned Office Research and Development, or ORD, and is also within the Mixed-Use Overlay District, as well as the Alston Activity Center, which allows for a variety of uses today. And the applicant proposes to rezone the site to Mixed-Use District, or MXD, with a preliminary development plan, or PDP, and the mixed-use overlay would remain. The proposed preliminary development plan shown here is divided into 5 pods. Pod 1 is a commercial pod, which may be developed with single-story commercial uses and surface parking. This is the only pod where a car wash is permitted. Pods 2 and 3 are mixed-use pods, which may include commercial, office, and residential uses. Buildings may be between 3 and 7 stories in height, and at least 75% of parking will be in structured parking facilities. At least 7,500 square feet of commercial uses will be vertically integrated into buildings in each of these pods. Pod 4 includes only residential uses and may also be 3 to 7 story buildings and will include at least 75% structured parking. And finally, Pod 5 is an office pod. Commercial uses are also permitted on this pod. Buildings will again be between 3 and 7 stories, and at least half of the parking will be in structures. The maximum building height in this pod was reduced from the 10 stories that were proposed at the time of the public hearing. The proposed uses and intensities for the site include a maximum of 625 residential units, and these could consist of multifamily units and/or life care community units, a maximum 30,000 square foot car wash, and a minimum of 15,000 and maximum of 25,000 square feet of commercial uses other than that car wash. Those uses could include things such as banks, bars, restaurants, and retail stores, among others. And finally, a minimum of 50,000 and a maximum of 200,000 square feet of office uses. The applicant has also provided several development standards that would apply specifically to a car wash use on Pod 1. These were added after the public hearing. And these include fully enclosing all equipment, including vacuums, in the building, limiting the drive-through lanes through the building to only one drive aisle, including 8 solar panels on the roof, designing building facades with 85% masonry material, which exceeds Cary's community appearance manual requirement of 75%, and phasing the car wash to ensure construction has begun elsewhere on site at the time of its completion. I'll talk more about that in a moment. The applicant has offered to provide street side trail along all site frontages on NC 55 Highway, McCrimmon Parkway, and the short site frontage on Good Hope Church Road. This does exceed the minimum LDO requirement, as Cary's long-range plan shows street side trail along only a portion of the NC 55 frontage. In addition, transportation improvements are proposed at all 7 site access points, and the site will be subject to right-of-way dedication and improvements along all frontages as applicable. This includes construction of the portion of the McCrimmon Parkway extension through their site. We anticipate the railroad crossing to be grade separated in the future, so details regarding the full extent of the road construction to be completed with this project would have to be reviewed at time of development plan, and we anticipate McCrimmon Parkway to stub to the potential future bridge. The preliminary development plan offers streetscapes and buffers that are mostly consistent with minimum LDO requirements, and also commits to screening of the parking decks via wrapping or partially wrapping them with buildings in pods 2, 3, and 4, and screening them with green walls or artwork in pod 5. At least 5% of the units will be affordable at 80% of the area median income, or AMI, for a period of 30 years. And at least 5% of the units will be smaller units with a maximum of 750 square feet. This condition could overlap with the affordable housing condition. There will be at least 6 electric vehicle charging stations, accommodating 2 spaces each in pods 2 through 5, or a total of 48 spaces. 8-foot wide sidewalk will be provided along all internal streets and travelways, and this is an increase to the LDO minimum requirement of 5 feet. And over 20,000 square feet of community gathering space will be distributed across all pods, with at least 500 square feet in pod 1 and at least 5,000 square feet in all 4 others. The PDP does include a number of proposed modifications, including the ability to clear and grade vegetation in all streetscapes, a reduced perimeter buffer along the residential pods border with the railroad, but only if parking is located between the multifamily units and the railroad. The LDO required 50-foot residential streetscape along McCrimmon Parkway is reduced to 30 feet in width. Internal streetscapes are proposed to be reduced from the standard 15-foot wide required for non-residential uses to 8 feet, and these could be largely hardscaped streetscapes with a reduced planting rate. Removal of 1 champion tree of the 2 surveyed on site, with replacement inches to be provided per the LDO, and 1 tree will be preserved. An allowance for decorative retaining walls around stormwater control measures to be 10 feet tall. That's an increase to the LDO 6-foot height limit, but that 10-foot height limit would only apply where not visible from public streets or greenways. And some modifications are proposed to the LDO requirement for a complete street network through the site. The Planning and Zoning Board reviewed this request in July of 2025. Board members had generally positive comments regarding the mix of uses and the commitment to structured parking. They did have some questions and concerns about the feasibility of office at this scale. Some members shared comments regarding the importance of the appearance or screening of the car wash, and some asked about the proximity of other closest car washes, noting that there might be a need here. Some members noted the project seemed to demonstrate consistency with a number of plan policies, but not all. Ultimately, the board found the request consistent with the Imagine Cary Community Plan by a vote of 8-1, with the one vote for inconsistency noting that the proposal was only partially consistent with plan policies and that it was important that the request be discussed when it returned to council, given the complexity of the request. Some of you may recall this request was initially scheduled for a final decision in September of last year, but the applicant requested it be removed from the agenda in order to add a condition regarding phasing of the development. The item was subsequently scheduled for an October meeting, but was removed again at the applicant's request. Since that time, the applicant has reduced the maximum height on Pod 5, the office pod, from a maximum of 10 stories down to 7. And the applicant has added a condition that no certificate of occupancy will be requested for Pod 1, the car wash pod, prior to construction commencing on Pod 2, which is one of the mixed-use pods. While the condition does allow a car wash to be the first use constructed on site and does not dictate a construction timeline or ensure the timing of any other building on the site beyond that first building on Pod 2, it would ensure that the car wash cannot be completed and occupied unless vertical construction, which would mean at least erecting columns, has begun on one other building subject to an approved development plan. A full analysis of the case against the Imagine Cary Community Plan was provided in your staff report, so I'll hit the highlights here. Generally, staff found the proposal meets a number of live, shop, and engage policies, and it partially meets some shape, work, and move policies, although the full details of transitions and employment-oriented uses are not fully known. The proposal also offers a number of commitments consistent with the vision for destination centers. Those policies are most directly addressed by pods 2, 3, and 4. On their own, these central pods are aligned with destination center guidance. Pod 5 is also consistent in its proposal of complementary office uses and a commitment to structured parking, although the lack of detail makes it difficult to deem fully consistent with plan guidance. The absence of phasing for this pod also creates uncertainty about when or if office uses will be developed. And finally, Pod 1 on its own is inconsistent with the destination center due to the proposed use and form and its vehicular-oriented nature. Overall, the proposal does not fully address all applicable plan policies, but does largely offer positive commitments in line with plan guidance, and therefore, on balance, staff recommends approval of the request. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Puckett. I'd open it up to council members for questions or comments. It's your district.
Okay. I have prepared some comments, and let me just pull that up. Sorry, it's a long list. I want to start by saying that I appreciate the applicant's investment and interest in doing business in Cary. We welcome businesses that want to grow and succeed in our community. My concern is not with the business itself, but what you said, it's whether this is the right location for this business. This corridor is already experiencing significant traffic pressure, and users that generate frequent short trips like car washes can create operational challenges, particularly related to vehicle queuing and turning movements. In addition, this parcel sits in a corridor where we should be encouraging higher intensity commercial activity that generates jobs and contributes to the long-term economic vitality of the area. That's just my view. For those reasons, I believe that I cannot support this project. I do feel that, I had a very good conversation with the applicant, and I did share with them that their proposal for mixed use was very, very thoughtful, very good. They had structured parking, and, they addressed some of the concerns very proactively. I appreciate them that they took the feedback about Pod 5, which was going to be 10-story earlier, but then they reduced it to up to 7 stories, so I appreciate that. But unfortunately, at this time, I feel like I cannot support this project because it's just not right place for this.
Other thoughts, comments?
I have some comments. So I want to be truly candid that a large single-story car wash in a destination center is not what our long-range plans imagine as the ideal outcome for this area. And our policy language about destination centers clearly prefers vertically mixed-use, walkable urban development with buildings framing the street and minimizing auto-oriented uses. And at first glance, this car wash felt like a step away from the vision. I mean, we've actually seen a car wash being proposed here before, and it was vehemently turned down and failed, and mostly because it was just the car wash. And I remember sitting here at this table talking about it, that it wasn't that it was just the car wash, it was our worry, our collective worry, that the rest of the destination center would somehow fall away. And all that you'd have is a car wash, and no one would come and say, yeah, I want to build an apartment building right behind that car wash. That's what I want to do. Or I want to build a mixed-use center right behind that car wash. So at that time, what I remember, and hopefully my memory is clear, we all collectively said, yeah, car wash all by itself is not what we want here. But I will say that what ultimately moves me towards supporting this as a compromise is the fact that it's a full package. It's not just the car wash in isolation as it was before, but with this rezoning, we secure our vision of the destination center, of density, of walkable, of affordable housing with 5% at 80% of AMI for 30 years, the applicant's commitment to not just build the car wash, but to actually commit to starting the construction of the rest of it, which again, gets me over the hump of worrying about it being just the car wash. It's also in an economically vital area where young professionals are looking to move to an area that's really close to the interconnection of highway interchanges. And also a lot of people are wanting to live in more diverse mixed-use neighborhoods that have more than just apartments. So we get everything we normally want at this table. We get solar. We get probably a very Cary car wash. I've never seen a car wash that's totally enclosed. We get structured parking, vertically mixed buildings at the core of the site and a connected network, and wider sidewalks that are really close to the destination center. So on the car wash itself, which is really my angst, it's not an unconstrained auto use. It no longer has the things that we were worried about, which were auto pumps. It's limited to a single pod. It's capped in size. It's close to the highway, so people don't actually have to go through a neighborhood or go up and down Maynard to get to the car wash. I mean, my guess is that everybody at this table has used a car wash before. It's got high-quality masonry. I'm sounding, unfortunately, like I really, really love it, but I'm trying to explain the things I like about the compromise, because it's also environmentally better to use a car wash that has recycled water than washing the car in your front yard. And being right on a highway corridor where auto-oriented use is what we tend to want, it's really contextually logical for it to be there. So I kind of wanted the public to hear both things, that it's not my purest expression of a plan, and I share the discomfort around it. At the same time, I weigh the trade-offs associated, so I see the rezoning as the best available balance here of the outcomes on the site. I am also aware that if this doesn't pass, we are likely to see significantly more density in a follow-up applicant that may not have the walkable infrastructure, this structured parking in it. We may not get something as good as it is. And even with the reduction in the height, the building is still going to be lower than the water tower next to it, right? The 178 water tower is like 10 to 12 stories. So the water tower is actually taller, but it's less dense when it's 7 feet. So for me, the combination is enough. It's like, if Jack were here, he'd probably call it the 4951. I support it. It's imperfect, but I think it's a reasonable compromise for me that could move this overall project forward?
So you analyzed a lot of things I analyzed. So I want to follow up on yours. I think if we saw pods 2, 3, and 4 in the first phase, now you've got my attention, but only seeing pod 2 is a little disappointing, and I agree what your initial statement was, that pod 1 didn't really fit in a destination center. So now what I'm looking at is pod 1 and pod 2 with no guarantees of anything else, which is disappointing. And then the affordable housing, which we have to address as a council, 80% of AMI means over $100,000 a year. Doesn't touch firemen, policemen, teachers, anybody. So I disregard that. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't do anything for me. So the person that used to sit to my left and my right, Jennifer used to say, wait for great. And that's kind of where I am on this one. I don't think this is great. I do understand the increased intensity that we're liable to get in the next proposal, but I think I would rather take my chances rather than not have the guarantee of pods 2, 3, and 4.
So you would have, just so I understand, if you had the guarantees of
2, 3, and 4, I would think about.
Oh, okay, I was just trying to figure out where you are.
I still don't think it fits, but you could try to convince me.
Well, 2 is probably the same size as 3 and 4 combined. 2 is the biggest one, so I
But
think.
I think high
I'm
density
guessing.
is good in this area, right? Because this is the destination center. And that we should have something that complements Alston Yards, which is
I don't
like
disagree.
1 mile down. The only challenge is with the car wash. It's a business that's only going to depend on car wash. So the trips that they're going to generate on 55, which is already a very crowded block on that side, it's going to get more crowded.
I think it'll be more just having been to a lot of car washes, and so not any that sound as nice as this. And by the way, I'm not advocating. I just my thought process was, when you go, you're not going to be going into the development. You're kind of doing a pass through, kind of like when you get gas. You know, you slide in right off the highway, you get your car clean, and you slide off. I don't really think. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to pull as much. If you look at the traffic study, the car wash pulls for itself what one of the pods of multifamily. So yes, does it pull more traffic? It does pull traffic, but it also pulls traffic without people having to go in and out.
So I just want to highlight one more thing to everyone. The traffic study was done in May 2022, and with the assumption that we will expand Carpenter Fire Station Road to 6 lanes, and the car wash is assumed to be 8,400 square feet, as per the report that's attached to this application.
It's also not a car wash in the traffic study. It's a 12-pump gas station.
Yes, do you want me to speak to that?
Yeah, could you?
I think this may have come up the last time I was here. So yes, when this was initially scoped, it was going to be a smaller car wash with fuel pumps. That design evolved as the case moved forward. Our transportation staff did look at it, and they assessed that the 30,000 square foot car wash, based on an admittedly small pool of data that we have available to us, would not generate more trips than that smaller car wash with the 12 fuel pumps that was originally scoped.
So you feel confident that this model is aligned with what's being presented? The shift to the larger car wash?
We had enough to make us feel comfortable that what is currently proposed would not generate more trips than what was initially scoped for. It may still generate a lot, but it would still be under the 12 fuel pump
Under what we
option.
have.
Other comments, thoughts?
I'd like to start with a question.
Okay.
Under this rezoning, would a storage facility be an allowed use?
I will double check, but I do not
Oh,
believe
storage.
that is on the list of permitted uses. It is not. So your commercial uses that would be allowed would be things like banks, bars, restaurants, indoor recreation facility, ABC store, postal center, personal service, retail.
Thank you for asking that.
I'm just saying.
No, it's a great question. I know we have many on this corridor.
Enough already with the storage spaces in that area. I have no problem with the car wash, especially a very Cary car wash. And I, of course, always explain myself in the form of anecdote, so I'll do that again here. My partner owns the best Irish pub in the whole wide world. I might mention that on occasion. Shares a parking lot with Bunkies. So, go back 25 years, and I was able, well, then I couldn't afford it then, but let's go back 15 or 20 years maybe. I could drop my car at Bunkies, get it washed, and go and enjoy lunch or dinner, or, after work drinks, at the pub. Bunkies is so busy all the time now that's, I tried that a couple of times several years ago and just couldn't do it. I do believe there's demand for car washes. If this project had a large gas station in it, I would be very against it. So I'm just going to say a very Cary car wash in this location. First of all, I think there's need for it. Second of all, great way to get me into a destination center. I find another, anecdotal example, high-speed car chargers is another great way to get me to patronize a business. If I could go wash my car and charge it, I'm going to wander business to business, much like I do the Kildare Plaza behind IHOP, right? I go in there, I plug in my car, and the next thing I know, I've spent $200. That's even before getting all the way down to Trader Joe's. I do believe there is a lot of, there's habits that people kind of have when it comes to stopping and kind of, getting stuff done, doing some errands, getting some, and convenience is a huge factor of that. For that reason, I think a destination center with a car wash is actually quite a good idea. Just my opinion. I don't wash my car frequently, but, I probably should because it looks terrible. So I don't have a problem with the car wash, but what I do like, there's a meaningful amount of structured parking included in this project. I really strongly prefer to see less surface parking wherever possible. Of course, the affordable housing that's included, I would like to see a lower AMI. Of course I would. I do personally, one council member speaking, do believe that commitments to smaller footprint housing is a long-term commitment to what is going to be naturally more affordable housing in most, not all cases. And the phasing commitment, I just want to thank the applicant for that. I know you probably could have just counted the votes to see if you could still get it, approved without that phasing commitment. I know that was challenging, so I appreciate that being included there. And, so these are the primary reasons why I'm in support of this. I'm curious to see what my other colleagues think.
This is one of the projects that wasn't an easy answer for me. There are several things that I appreciate about it. The structured parking, sidewalks, street side trails along all the frontages, of course, the affordable housing provisions, the 5% smaller units. The next, I have a question. I just want it defined for the public. What is mixed use?
So that would typically be the expectation that there's residential and non-residential uses mixed in a building.
So because when it's listed as residential, office, and commercial. I was like, what's the word? That doesn't mean it could be commercial and office to be mixed use. Does residential have to be included for it to be mixed use?
We've typically read that as being residential and commercial included, and I believe that is the applicant's intent. That large number of multifamily units clearly is, something that's a major part of this project. So I don't think we, as staff, have major concerns with ensuring that we get the residential with the ground floor, commercial or office, or it could be both.
I wish I didn't share your concerns. My concern is that when we are saying max 625 multifamily or life care units, there's no minimum, and we've talked about this in recent projects. I may not have even asked that question a year ago, probably didn't. And there's good reasons why I believe the applicant decided to put that phasing in. there were a lot of questions asked, I believe, to bring it to that point. And I am very happy that it's now, to get the certificate of occupancy, the next phase has to be started. I just don't see anything that gives me, let me rephrase it. I usually try to phrase it positively, but it gives me pause. I don't feel confident that even though there's 5% affordable housing at 80% AMI and 5% smaller units, what if there aren't any units? What if we end up with a car wash with more commercial office? It's a point that just sticks with me. And looking at like where they, check off which policies were met in the Cary Community Plan, looking at the LIVE policies, provide more housing choices, provide housing options in new neighborhoods, greatest variety of housing options in mixed use. There's another one. Those are all checked. But I'm like, what if there aren't housing units? Or, there's no, and I know there's no guarantee in other projects as well. But I keep going back to your original statement, Councilmember Bush, was I would like it even more if in a destination center, perhaps there was more vertical. And
Councilmember Craig, just to make sure we've got everything clear on this, and Aaron, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm looking at the PDP. For Pod 2 and Pod 3, the ground floor uses are residential, office, or commercial, but the upper floors have to be residential. And they have to have a minimum of 3 stories.
Great, thank you. That is very helpful.
So that is effectively a minimum for residential?
So as I read it, there would have to be, in Pod 2, there would have to be at least 2 floors of residential use.
Thank you, Lisa. I was flipping through my PDP looking for where that requirement was buried.
So there basically is a minimum.
Yes, there
because
will be
it's
some
affected.
residential.
There'll be some residential of at least 2 floors.
That's very helpful, thank you. Okay, so what were my other notes? I just noted in the shape policies that it's checked off that it focuses on the most intense use of encouraging mixed use in a development. And I was thinking, like, is that really met? Is it the most intense use in a destination center when it's a single story? So that was a kind of a pause point for me as well. And I will say the other is not a sticking point for me now because I have clarification. Thank you. So this is a pause point for me. And then the other one was, I think I just combined 2 policies together there. But I believe, I also just made a note after your comments that in the future it could be more dense. And what if we didn't get an applicant, wanting to put in the walkability and everything? We also have the structured parking. We also have the option of saying no then as well.
Oh, always, always.
That's right.
Always. I mean, one of the things that's interesting is we're talking about wanting density, but then we also ask at the same time the applicant to reduce the number of stories. Yeah. So we have to align what we want as a council, because on one hand, we said, yeah, we want density, but then we also turned around and said, well, could you make it less stories? We can't be both.
But we can definitely ask for more than 1 story.
What's that?
More than 1 story, right? Like this is a 1-story car garage versus, is that what you're referring to?
No, I just meant overall in the entire, all the pods, yeah. I mean, sure, I mean, we're talking with Wake County about building residential on top of schools. I mean, sure, you could build residential on top of a car wash. I mean, would that change your mind? I don't know if it would change. I don't know if I would be.
I don't make
more
decisions under pressure. I'd have to read about it.
But certainly there's no reason, right? You could always build, a first floor car wash with residential above it.
That could be Cary style, maybe.
Other comments, questions? Motion?
well, I'll throw it out there. I'll make a motion that we move to adopt the following documents for a statement of consistency for 22 REZ 20 Alston Yards PDP, and a statement of consistency and the rezoning ordinance 22 REZ 20, right? There's an update. It's not REZ 02? It's
REZ 20.
Okay.
I apologize, was there a mistype on there?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion? I think we have a split vote, so you got to raise your hand. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
You didn't
It
raise
is
your hand?
5-2.
Oh, you.
So you didn't vote, so
Did you
that
vote?
would be a
No,
yes.
I didn't vote, but
Are you
I'm
in
allowed to
favor?
continue.
If you vote, if you don't vote, you're a
That's-
yes.
Yeah, so
Is that what-
motion fails 4-3.
Okay.
So we have still taken no action. We can take no action, or we can make a motion to deny. That's where we are now.
Well, may I make a request and see if the applicant would be interested in us continuing or tabling it?
I'm
based on the
okay
feedback?
with that, unless,
Based on the feedback, that's generally what we've done in the past.
We usually have them speak anyway, don't we?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jason Barron with Morningstar Law Group here on behalf of the applicant. Appreciate the feedback and the dialogue as always, and we were listening with bated ears, if that's a saying. We definitely would like the opportunity to continue the conversation rather than having the zoning case denied. There's no doubt about that. We've been at this for a little over 5 years at this point, and would hate for the opportunity to continue to refine the plans in a way that's consistent with council expectation to pass us by. And so with that, we would be happy to take a tabling of the case while we review this feedback and come back with alternatives. I did have a question, though. It sounds to me that the biggest issue that the case has is the car wash. That if it was, if it was kind of pods 2 through 5 that didn't include the car wash, this case is on steady footing. It might even be a good case at that point. The car wash is the sticking point. Is that kind of the feedback we're hearing?
That is correct.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes, and to clarify for me, it's the one story.
Yep.
It's not specifically car wash. but-
Understood.
I mean, and understand that it is a car wash.
Yep.
I would really recommend that, and I did share this feedback when we met as well. I would really prefer that, we have something front-facing like retail and maybe a smaller car wash probably accommodated. That's something that I would prefer, but, I would like to hear from others as well.
Okay.
I didn't comment earlier,
Yeah,
but I've talked to a council member, Bensel, about the traffic. But what we discussed is that it will affect the traffic. But what I heard today is there's no problem with the traffic.
There is problem with the traffic.
well, we can get in that discussion another time. I mean,
Yeah, so-
having done traffic studies myself, I can tell you that it'll be a small percentage of what you see on 55, so.
I just wanted to clarify and make sure that we were hearing the right issue, and the issue sounds like it is the existence of the car wash, the one-story car wash.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. So we have added another option. So far, we haven't taken action. We can deny, we tried to pass, we can table. What was the other one?
That's it,
Oh,
continue
yeah.
or deny.
Continue or table is the same thing,
Yeah.
or deny. The only thing, before we make a motion to do that, the only thing I would ask is if we do make a motion to table, when we get the study, if we can get it in time where the residents have a chance to look at it and respond to it, and have a chance to come to a council meeting and speak, not a public hearing, but at least public speaks out, that's only fair.
Absolutely.
So if we decide to table and the applicant had said, okay, here's what we're going to propose, then we have a meeting and then put it on another meeting, and then we would have plenty of time to talk about that. That would be my recommendation.
I'd also like to figure out if we need to change some of our public speaks out rules so that people who are here to speak about something that's on the agenda right, that's on discussion, so they're not part of the public hearing, that they should get an opportunity to speak. Maybe we have some extra way for them to sign up because they didn't necessarily know that they had to sign up beforehand. Because I think that was a missed opportunity to hear to hear about Petty Road and to hear, normally the applicant will make a comment in public speak time. And we didn't get to hear from them.
Pat, I would just want to take the opportunity before we potentially make another motion, just to address my thinking. We've talked about the car wash in particular. That actually is not my major objection. I would just like to note, this was my first vote and on a development, a rezoning proposal like this. And so I take that new responsibility very seriously. And my objection is more aligned with the mayor's of, this felt maybe almost good enough, but not great. And so I would really like it, I expressed when I met with the applicant, there's some things to like here, but to meet the threshold for approval for me, I would have liked it to be a little greener, to see reduced plantings and reduced buffers, a very minimal affordable housing commitment were things that just kept me from being enthusiastic enough to support it. I think we still have more opportunity to make this better.
I have to say, I'm going to say it out loud. This is the first time sitting at this council table that everybody thought that 5% affordable housing was not enough. In my 14 years here, I've been fighting for 5%, and I think the applicant heard that's not enough. And I want to thank my council colleagues for saying that. That really is, that means a lot.
It's the 80% that gets me.
It's both.
Both, yeah.
But mostly the 80%, because I feel
80% and
80% doesn't do anything for me, so.
I've been fighting for 50 to 80% for a really long time. So thank you all for clearly sharing that.
Okay, motion to approve or table? That's what I'm looking for.
I'll make a motion that we continue this rezoning. Do we have to give a time certain?
Indefinitely.
Okay. Motion that we continue rezoning 22 REZ 20.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. In discussion, I would tell those in attendance that Erin Puckett will have the latest information. She would be your liaison to any changes that come forward. So keep in touch with her. And that way you'll know the latest and greatest when it happens.
And email us.
Or email us.
Perspective.
You can always
too.
email.
It's very helpful.
Yep. So we have a motion and a second to table indefinitely.
She said continue.
To continue. I said to
Continue
continue.
Or
That's
just
what I said.
Continue with no
I
dates.
said to
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, just continue.
I used the wrong terminology.
Yes.
I thought Lisa would come after me. All right, so a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion? No. Motion carries 6-1. So thank you, Ms. Puckett, and thanks everyone that was here for this hearing. And hopefully next time you'll have the opportunity to speak in public speaks out. Sign up early, please. And if you can't get in, send us an email. We'll find a way to get you guys in. Okay, thank you. We need to go to closed session, and I would entertain a motion to do so.
Pursuant to GS 143-318-11A 1, 3, 5, and 6, I move that we hold a closed session to consult with attorneys employed by and or retained by the town in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorneys and the town and prevent the disclosure of information that's made privileged or confidential pursuant to the laws of the state, including NCGS 160A 168, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of General Statutes. She changed it again. Consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, and/or conditions of initial employment of one or more individual public officers or employees, and instruct town staff concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the town in negotiating the price and other material terms of or a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're 1035. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We're reconvening our council meeting. We've concluded our business, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned.
Yay.